Adventures in time and space, told in future tense.
Dimension
Can you predict the future? Can you tell what will happen in 100 years? Or in 10? Or in the next minute? Can you look beyond the known dimensions of time and space into the unknown, Dimension X? Tonight we have a strange story to tell. A sweet, blood-curdling little story that is really only 2 sentences long. The last man on Earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door. Think it over. Suppose you were the last man alive on Earth, in the universe for that matter. The last man sitting alone in a room, and suddenly there was a knock on the door. What knocked on the door? You wonder, don't you? Your mind, faced with the unknown, supplies something vaguely horrible. But it isn't horrible, really. You'll see. The last man on Earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door.
What? Oh, what's that?
Good morning, man.
What? Who are you?
You have regained consciousness.
Who are you?
I am Azan.
Maybe if I close my eyes, it'll go away.
I will not go away, man.
No, I guess I am awake. Who? What are you?
I am Azan.
Well, what's that?
Azan is intelligent life.
What happened? Where are you from?
From Planet 7 in the 3rd galaxy in the 4th quadrant.
Where?
It is not necessary to repeat information which is correct in the original statement.
Planet 7? You mean I'm not on Earth?
You are still on your planet.
Well, then what are you doing here?
The Zans have annexed your world.
You mean you've conquered Earth?
Yes, that is correct. We will now prepare your planet for habitation by the Zan.
Well, how about the people?
There is no longer any use for large numbers of lower life forms. Therefore, we have dispensed with them.
Dispensed with? You mean you've... When did all this happen?
2 days ago. You have been unconscious until now.
You really mean I'm the last man on Earth?
That is correct. Identify yourself now.
What?
Kindly provide data as to your position in the elementary social order of your planet.
Well, I'm Walter Phelan, Associate Professor of Anthropology at Nathan University. How is it you speak English?
We have deciphered your written and recorded records. It is not difficult to reconstruct your language. Very type of auditory communication.
Oh.
Is there anything you want to complete your natural habitat?
You mean I'm a prisoner?
That is correct. What will you want further in your room?
Well, do I have to stay here?
Yes.
The rest of my life?
Forever.
Well, then you better bring in my books. I gotta call you something. Do you mind if I call you, George?
It is immaterial.
All right, then, George. You know, I can't really believe this.
That is a characteristic of low life form.
I'm trying to take this in without going off balance completely.
I will be back, Associate Professor of Anthropology.
It's all right, George. Just call me Walter.
Very well, Walter. I will be back with your books.
All right, George. I'll be seeing you around.
You will not be around, Walter. You will be here.
Yes, the last man on Earth sat alone in a room. A rather peculiar room. He just noticed how peculiar it was, and he'd been studying out the reason for its peculiarity. His conclusion didn't horrify him, but it annoyed him. There was a knock on the door.
Come in. Oh, hello, George.
Hello, Walter.
What can I do for you?
Point 1, you will please henceforth sit with your chair pointed the other way.
I thought so. That plain wall is different from the other sides, isn't it?
That is correct. It is transparent.
That's what I thought. I'm in a zoo, right?
That is correct.
I knew it. And if I persist in sitting with my back to it, what then? You'll kill me, I ask, hopefully?
No, we will not kill you.
That's too bad. George, I'll face the bars and perform for the people. I mean for the Zons. How many other animals do you have here in the zoo, George?
216, a male and female each of 108 kinds.
Male and female of all the animals?
There is a female of your species among the collection.
Anyone I know? Never mind, it doesn't matter anyway. Well, George, you started out with point 1. I suppose there's a point 2 kicking around somewhere. What is it?
Something we do not understand. 2 of the other animals sleep and do not wake. They are cold. What is wrong with them, Walter?
Well, they must be dead.
Dead? That means stopped. But nothing stopped them. Each was alone.
Sure, they just died.
But I have told you they were alone. Nothing stopped them.
George, do you mean to tell me that you don't know what natural death is?
Death is when a being is killed, stopped from living.
Maybe these animals just died of old age.
Old age. I do not understand.
George, how old are you?
Your planet went around the sun about 7,000 times since I was born.
What? 7,000 years?
Yes, I'm still young.
Now, look, George, you've got something to learn about this planet you've hijacked. Here on Earth, we've got somebody that's a stranger where you come from. Down here, our people and animals live until the Grim Reaper stops them.
This Grim Reaper stopped the 2 animals?
That's right.
He will stop more?
Oh, he gets us all, George.
This is a new factor we have not considered.
But you can consider it. Because when the Grim Reaper gets through, there won't be very much left of your zoo.
You mean he will stop more animals soon?
Well, with your lifespan, it won't seem like a minute and we'll all be gone. Oh, it looks like you made a mistake, George. I don't think there's very much you can do about it.
That is not correct. The Zon is a logical being. We will take action.
Where are you taking me, George?
We will be there shortly.
You mean, it's moving day?
That is correct. We are here now. You will live here now, Walter. It is a larger room.
Well, be it ever so humble.
Go inside.
Be careful with those books, George. Don't lose... Excuse me.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Well, I guess George didn't explain. George tries to be polite, but he hasn't quite caught on yet. I'm Walter Phelan.
My name is Grace Evans, Mr. Phelan. What is all this about? Why did they bring me here?
I think I know why.
Why?
You see, I've been talking to George.
George?
Well, that's what I call them, all of them. There's no way to tell them apart anyway. There aren't many of them here, yet. They come from outside the solar system, sort of an advanced scouting party.
Yes, I saw their spaceship. It's as big as a mountain.
They're moving in on us. They cleaned off the Earth with some kind of vibration that destroys all sorts of animal life. They killed everybody.
Oh, no. I was afraid.
Well, the cheerful note is that you and I and 200-odd other animals were picked up beforehand as specimens for the zoo. You know that this is a zoo, don't you?
Yes. I suspected it. But I don't remember anything about being captured. I just woke up here.
Well, they solved a lot of problems for us. Housing shortages, wars. I don't suppose the human race, you and I, that is, have to worry about anything now.
It's awful.
Only they made one mistake. They overestimated us.
I don't understand.
They thought we were immortal.
That we were what?
Immortal, like they are. Oh, they can be killed. But the Zons don't know what natural death is. They didn't know anyway until they lost 2 of us yesterday.
You mean there are more than 2 of us?
No more of our species. These were merely brother animals. A rabbit and a canary. And by the Zons' way of figuring time, the rest of us are only good for a few minutes apiece anyway. That's a joke on them. They figured they had permanent specimens here in their zoo.
But didn't they know that we'd all die eventually?
No, I don't think so. See, George told me he was 7,000 years old and he's supposed to be young. When they learned how quickly we die, well, they were probably shocked to the core. If they have cause.
How can you talk that way about it?
Academic detachment. I learned it at faculty teas. At any rate, they've decided to reorganize their zoo 2 by 2.
Oh,
Sure, they figure we'll last longer collectively, if not individually.
but if they think... That is, if you think for 1 minute.
No, don't worry. I don't.
But are they going to keep us locked up together in this one little room?
I'm afraid so.
It's horrible.
I agree with you perfectly, my dear. But all personal considerations aside, the least favor we can do the human race is to let it end with us. I don't see much point in continuing it just for an exhibition in a zoo.
How can you just sit here and lecture?
Habit.
But we've got to do something.
Why?
I don't know. It just seems we owe it to the human race to do something.
You got a suggestion?
There must be some way. They can be killed, you said.
I think that anything that would kill one of us would kill one of them. You see, I figured it out, I think. George cut his... Well, I suppose you'd call it his hand when he brought in my books. It started to bleed, red blood, but I could see the cut closing just as he stood there. And by the time he left, it was healed.
I don't understand.
Don't you see, whatever factor there is in man that makes him grow old is missing in the Zan. They just go on and on and on until they're stopped.
Yeah. But suppose we killed one. There must be some way.
Well, but what would be the use? They wouldn't even punish us. They just give us our food through a trap door and put a sign out saying, "Beware of the man, dangerous."
I don't think they'd have to bother in your case. I don't see anything funny.
I'm sorry. Just reminds me of Martha.
Martha?
My wife. She died 2 years ago.
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Oh, that'll be George with my books. Come in. Hello, George.
Hello, Walter. Point 1, I have brought your books.
Point 1, Well, what else is on your mind?
Point 2, another creature sleeps and will not wake. A small feathered one called a duck.
It happens, George. I warned you. Old man Death, the Grim Reaper. I told you all about him.
Walter, the Council of Zan has met. It has been decided logically that the only intelligent life to escape the vibration is you. Therefore, the logical conclusion is you are stopping these animals by some means unknown to us.
George, you're off your trolley.
You will tell me now how this is done.
You boys afraid you're going to lose the whole zoo?
It is necessary to save the remaining specimens as long as possible. If we do not get information, we may be forced to dispense with your species entirely.
Now, wait a minute.
This means you, Walter, and the female.
Now, wait a minute, George. Don't go off half-cocked. Let me take a look at these animals that won't wake up.
I will take you there now. Go first, Walter.
After you, my dear George.
This is the weasel.
You should have got him in the winter, George. The fur's worth more then. Then it's an ermine.
This is the reptile cage. Here are the ducks. This is the male. The female has been stopped.
Lucky girl. What's the matter, fella? You lonely down there?
Walter, you will tell me how you stopped the female duck.
You got me, George. I didn't do it. Maybe she died of the Dutch elm blight.
Walter, you are not being logical. We have concluded you are stopping these animals. Tell us how it is done.
I told you, George, I haven't the foggiest notion.
Very well. We will have to take further action.
Well, what are you going to do, George?
We have methods of action you will know soon. We will go back now to your room.
What happened, Mr. Phelan?
You can call me Walter. After all, George does, and we have more in common.
Oh, please, what happened?
Just a duck, a dead duck. George thinks I killed her by remote control. He thinks I'm holding out on him.
Good.
What?
Well, at least we can get back at them. At least we can do something to them.
Well, why? After all, George isn't a bad fellow, if you like an ant mentality.
How can you say that? They've wiped out the whole human race. They've murdered everybody.
I suppose they have, but we can't change that now, so why think about it?
Well, we can't just sit here and do nothing.
I fail to see how we can do anything else.
Oh, of all the men in the world they had to pick. Don't you want to fight back? Don't you want to keep on fighting until the end?
It hadn't occurred to me.
But we've got to, Walter.
Why?
Well, I can't really explain, but... Walter, if there was any good in man at all, it was that he kept on, struggling against nature and in the end even against himself. But at least he kept on fighting for what he thought was right, and we're all that's left. Walter, we just can't end it by giving up. We've got to keep on fighting.
You know, you do remind me of Martha.
Oh, look, there isn't much left for us, but we could beat them in this one small thing. We can pretend that there's a secret about death, and we could refuse to tell them anything.
There isn't anything to tell.
Well, they don't know that. Promise me you won't give in.
I suppose the worst they can do is to kill us.
Oh, Walter.
All right, Miss Evans. Hello, George.
Hello, Walter. Now, you will tell us how these animals are stopped?
George, this may come as a great shock to you, but I've decided not to tell you.
Why?
Oh, call it a romantic attachment to lost causes. My grandfather was a Confederate officer.
Walter, you are not being logical, but that is expected in lower life forms. You will come with me now, Walter,
Where are you taking him?
to the second level. Come now, Walter.
You won't tell them.
I can't guarantee anything, but as of now, I don't intend to.
We've got to fight. Remember that, Walter. We've got to go out fighting.
I think you're right.
Come now, Walter.
Goodbye.
It's been a pleasure, Miss Evans.
I am waiting. Come now, Walter.
After you, my dear George.
You will tell us now, Walter? That was the first level of vibration. There are many more. However, we have calculated that none of them exceed your threshold of unconsciousness.
Oh, very clever, George.
Of course. You will tell us now, how do you stop these animals? You will tell us now?
As of now, no. However, I'm not very brave, if that encourages you, George.
You are not being logical, Walter.
You're telling me.
We will now use vibration level 2. You will tell us now?
You know, George, I can't figure it out myself, but I'm stubborn. Maybe it has something to do about the dignity of man, the civilization such as it was that you wiped out.
I do not understand.
I didn't think you would. So go ahead. Vibrate.
Vibration level 2. It will be very painful, Walter. Walter? Walter? You are still conscious.
Let me alone, George.
You will tell us now. You will tell us how you stop the animals.
Let me alone.
We have had vibration levels 1 through 10. There are still 15 more before your threshold of unconsciousness.
No, let me alone.
Walter, listen to me. Another creature sleeps and will not wake. We must know now.
That's tough. You better start vibrating again, George.
No.
What?
It would not be logical. We have calculated that no further level of vibration will overcome your irrational psychological block. We conclude you will not tell.
You mean you're going to let me go?
That is correct.
That's real nice of you, George. I appreciate it.
We have calculated that the resistance of the female of your species will be lower. We will now place her under the vibrations.
Oh, no, George, you can't do that.
Why not, Walter? It is the logical plan.
No, she couldn't take it.
Yes, that is what we expect. Therefore, we will go and bring the woman here.
No, now listen to me, George. There is no secret. Do you understand that? There's no secret. Those animals died from natural causes. And I'm telling you the truth.
That is not a logical answer. We will get the woman.
Well, I've told you the truth. Can't you understand?
We must know now. The female animal caged next to the duck has been stopped. We must preserve the survivor.
The animal next to the duck?
We will bring the woman here. She will tell us after the vibration.
No, listen, George. George, do you want the truth? You want to know how to save the mates of the animals that have been stopped?
You will tell us now?
Yes, I'll tell you. Take me to that stopped animal. and I'll tell you how to save its mate.
Very well, Walter. You are being logical now. We will go.
Walter, are you all right?
Yeah, just let me catch my breath a minute.
What happened?
Well, after a while, I told them what they wanted to know.
You didn't.
Sure, as George pointed out, it seemed to be the logical thing at the time.
You gave up?
I suppose you can call it that. Look, I'm very bad. Something might turn up, Martha.
But they've beaten us completely then. There isn't anything we can do. Most of the human race. And we give up. We don't even die fighting. You call me?
Oh, I must have said Martha. I'm sorry.
The Council of the Zon has met.
Something wrong? She was my wife. She died 2 years ago. What were you saying?
Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't matter. It's too late. Too late. For the whole...
What now, George?
Zon has been stopped.
What?
Azan is dead?
That is correct.
You didn't believe me, George. But you can die. You can really die. You'll have to get used to that if you're going to stay here.
The Council has decided. A, you have in some way stopped this Zon. B, you and the woman must be eliminated.
Walter.
No, you got it wrong, George. I didn't stop that Zon. It's just death. It gets all of us here.
You will be eliminated now.
But, George, it won't do any good to kill us. It won't save you. Everything that lives on Earth must die.
That is not logical.
But it's true.
The Council has decided. This time, you will have the full vibration.
This time? Walter, what did they do to you?
They have a rather effective third degree.
They tortured you, Walter?
Yes.
And I... Walter, it was all my fault.
I wouldn't even have tried without you. I suppose we have a last chance now to end with some dignity.
I think you're a very brave man.
Well, there isn't much else to do. Do we go now, George?
Now, Walter. Wait.
What's that?
I have been told another Zon has died.
Now will you believe me?
The Council of the Zon meets now.
2 gone already, and you were with me, George. You know I didn't kill this one.
What stopped him then?
I told you it's old man death. You came to the wrong planet, George. Your immortality doesn't go down here. He can stop you, but you can't stop him. And you'll all die if you stick around. And now what?
The Council has decided this is a place of death. We will leave your planet.
Leave? You mean you're giving up?
It is not safe for the Zon.
Walter, they're leaving. They're really going.
Go on then, George, and don't hurry back.
It would not be logical to do so. We are leaving the Earth now. Goodbye, Walter.
Goodbye, George. Well, they're all aboard now.
Oh, it's so wonderful to feel the wind and the sun again.
Close the hatches.
Walter, is it safe for us to be out here?
Sure, they're not interested in us any longer. They only want to get away. And I want to see this grace, the Zon leaving Earth forever. Now they're blasting off.
There they go.
Yes, it's over now. Well, I suppose we might as well go back in.
I still don't understand, Walter. What made them go?
Oh, I just told them the facts of life.
Of death, you mean?
No, of life. After all, I thought George was old enough to know at 7,000 years he was getting to be a pretty big boy.
I wish you'd stop joking and tell me what happened.
Look out for the steps. Well, do you remember when the first animals died?
Yes, the rabbit and the canary.
And their mates just started to pine and waste away?
Yes?
Well, that worried the Zon. They wanted to keep the last specimens alive if they could. So finally I broke down and told them about affection.
Affection?
Mm-hmm. And then I introduced Donald.
Donald, who's that?
Here we are.
Oh,
Come here. Grace, I want you to meet Donald.
oh, Walter, please. What does affection have to do with it?
Well, that's what the Zahn wanted to know. I told him it was love that made the world go round, that having lost his mate, Donald would die immediately unless he had affection and constant petting.
Petting?
Mm-hmm. I even showed him how. Come here, fella. Come here. Yes, I held Donald in my arms and petted him a while, and then I let the Zahn take over with the animal in the next cage.
What animal?
Take a look. Hey, watch out. Don't go
Walter.
too close.
It's a rattlesnake.
Yes, it's a rattlesnake. The Zahn's metabolism made it impossible for them to die of old age, but I had a hunch they could be poisoned.
Then it was the snake that killed the two Zahn.
They never even knew what bit them.
Then you outwitted them, Walter.
I suppose.
And I thought you'd just given up. Oh, Walter, I'm so proud of you.
You don't have to be. I had given up. I probably wouldn't have fought at all if you hadn't pushed me.
Well,
Well, we've got a world to plan, a whole new world, Grace.
I know.
We'll have to decide which animals to let out of the zoo and which ones would be safer to keep in. But first, there's a much bigger problem.
What's that?
The human race.
Oh,
Yeah, we've got to make a decision about that. It's a pretty important one.
yes. But
It hasn't been a bad race. Of course, it may go backward for a while until it gets its breath, but... Well, we can save the books and all the most important things and get it started ahead once more.
please, Walter.
It's the Garden of Eden.
Don't be
All
ridiculous.
over again.
Don't be ridiculous, Walter.
Funny. You even blush like Martha. Oh, only you're stronger than she was. And prettier, too.
I wish you'd forget about Martha.
I think I will, my dear, if you'll only give me a little time.
Now, Walter Phelan, you listen to me. If you think for 1 minute that we...
Why, I thought it would never happen to me again. But it is love that makes the world go round. And so, Grace, if you could only...
I wouldn't marry you if you were the last man on earth.
But that's exactly what I am.
I don't care. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm going out.
Well, all right, my dear, but think it over and please come back.
You see, I told you. It wasn't really so horrible, our story. Remember how it goes. The last man on earth sat alone in a room. And then there was a knock on the door.
Come in. Oh, come in. Come in, my dear.
You see, it wasn't horrible at all.
You have just heard the Frederick Brown story entitled Knock, an adventure in time, space, and the unknown world of the future, the world of Dimension
Now, about next week. Next week, we tell the story of a robot. But a robot that was almost human.
Tonight's adventure in Dimension X was adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Arnold Moss was heard as Walter Phelan, Louis Van Ruten as the Zahn, and Joan Alexander as Grace Evans. Your narrator was Norman Rose. Music by Albert Berman, engineer Bill Chambers. Dimension X is produced by Van Woodward and directed by Edward King. Tomorrow, hear Sam Spade. Now it's Truth or Consequences on NBC.
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. Heading our starring Hollywood cast tonight is Mr. Laird Cregar, who will be seen shortly in the 20th Century Fox production of one of the great suspense stories of all time, The Lodger. Tonight, Mr. Cregar appears as a cynical gentleman who made an unusual bet with death. With Mr. Cregar as a cast of the screen's most distinguished and characteristic players, Miss Helen Vinson, Mr. Walter Kingsford, Mr. George Couloris, Mr. Harold Huber, and Mr. Ian Wolfe, here to bring us the suspense play called The Last Letter of Dr. Bronson. And so with the performance of Laird Cregar as he writes for us this last letter of Dr. Bronson, and with the performances of, in the order of their appearance, Walter Kingsford, Ian Wolfe, Harold Huber, Helen Vinson, and George Couloris, we again hope to keep you in Suspense.
My dear Dr. Mosher, forgive me if I dash this letter off rather hurriedly. There are but a very few minutes remaining for me. The few minutes between now and midnight. You have always protested my fascination with the subject of death. It irked you to hear me discuss the latest electrocution or hanging. I remember your sarcasm the day you found me staring down from the top of the Empire State Building, speculating on the thoughts of a man about to leap from that pinnacle. You alone, Mosher, know how this fascination led to my latest experiment. I should say, my last experiment. I promised you a complete account of it all. Here is that account. First of all, let me recall a conversation which we held here in my study a little over a year ago.
There you go again, Bronson. Death and murder. Really, you're unhealthy.
Please answer my question, Mosher. Why do men behave as they do? What keeps them from breaking loose? Why don't they kill one another as animals do?
Why, because they aren't animals.
But, my dear Mosher, being neither vegetable nor mineral, they must be animals.
Well, what I mean
That
is,
you do not know the answer. I do.
So?
I have been studying the question for some time, and I've concluded that there are 5 basic checks which serve to restrain man from murdering his fellow man.
Oh, really, Bronson?
The obvious corollary is that murder occurs only when some stronger drive overrides these 5 basic checks.
Oh, you make it sound very simple.
It is simple.
And what are these 5 basic checks?
Well, I'm not prepared to reveal the outcome of my study as yet. I must put my theory to the test.
That would seem to be a difficult undertaking.
Difficult, yes, but intriguing.
Oh, well, I take it you're about to embark upon another of your experiments.
Correct.
Bronson, why must you keep on? These studies invariably bring you some physical, or what is more dangerous, some nervous disaster.
And in turn, your handsome bill for putting me in shape to conduct the next.
Sooner or later, you will experiment yourself into a position beyond my power to aid you.
Let it be later, then. Meanwhile, I shall continue to pursue my sole interest in life.
And how do you propose to conduct this restraint from murder experiment?
Well, a murder is composed of 4 elements. The murderer, the motive, the opportunity, and the victim. My first step will be to select 5 men, each of whom will be restrained from murder by the particular check that I'm testing on him.
That's no easy task.
By no means. It will require an extensive search. But having found my men, I must then supply each with a motive. Greed, revenge, jealousy.
I see, and your next step must be to give each man an opportunity.
Precisely. An opportunity which precludes all checks but the one being tested.
Well, not knowing what your checks are, I can't help you there.
Well, that'll be relatively simple. And finally, I must supply an intended victim.
And you'll ask this victim to face 5 men, each standing to profit handsomely by murdering him?
Correct.
His only chance of survival being the correctness of your theory of checks in all 5 instances?
Yes.
And do you imagine you will discover a man with such utter confidence in your reckoning?
There is one such man.
Who?
Myself.
Bronson, this is folly.
No, Mosher. I never hesitate to risk high stakes on a sure thing, not even my life.
Now, look here, Bronson. You're a doctor yourself. You told me to speak to you like a Dutch uncle. Now, as your physician,
I haven't
advise...
consulted my physician.
But you will take precautions, provide yourself for emergencies.
I tell you, there's no danger.
Oh, well. Well, when will you begin your experiment?
Well, I suppose in about... Well, why wait? Why don't we begin right now? Moshe, I invite you to kill me.
What?
There's a revolver right here in my desk, and I want you to take this revolver...
Oh, you're joking, Bronson. What possible motive could I have for murdering you?
Motive? Why, we're known to be associated rather closely in our work. You'll come naturally into my entire practice. I'll put that in writing.
Why, it's preposterous.
Why? Why won't you kill me then, Moshe?
Why, there are dozens of reasons. In the first place, I'd go to the electric chair for it.
Thank you, Dr. Moshe. You've given me an admirable illustration of the first and most obvious of the 5 checks in my theory. Man refrains from murdering his fellow being because he himself will be killed by law. Remember, Moshe? Remember how it began? That was more than a year ago. Yes, I've spent more than a year in selecting my other 4 subjects, because the checks I wanted them to prove were not so simple. In selecting my people, it was necessary that I cultivate the friendship of each, so that when the time should come to confront him with my proposition, I should be certain of how he would act. The first of my 4 potential murders was a clerk named Totten. Totten was badly in debt, his wife in the hospital about to undergo an expensive operation, and he was a deeply religious man. We went to church together on Sunday evenings at St. Luke's, right around the corner from my apartment. One Sunday evening after the service, I asked him to come to my apartment, and we talked as we walked along.
You know, Dr. Bronson, I was talking about you to my wife the other day, before they took her to the hospital. I was saying what a great comfort it was to be with you these Sunday nights.
Now, come, Mr. Totten, you embarrass me.
No, I mean it. In the world today, too many people seem to feel that they no longer need their God.
Yes, but their lives are void of the great thing you have in your faith.
The church is a great comfort to me, and I do need something to cling to in times like these.
Mr. Totten, you could make rather good use of $5,000, couldn't you?
It isn't like you to make fun of my poverty.
No, I'm quite sincere.
You know what even $100 would mean to me, and at present more than ever.
Yes, with your wife's misfortune.
Oh, isn't this your apartment we're passing?
Well, I want to go in the side way. We shall be unobserved.
Unobserved?
Oh, you'll understand presently. Please, come into my study. Here we are. And now if you'll take this chair opposite my desk.
Thank you.
Mr. Totten, you said that even $100 would be a great help to you. Here in my desk, I have this package containing $5,000.
Well, what could I do for you that would be worth all that money?
Let me explain. My doctor called on me yesterday, and he told me, well, to be quite frank with you, Mr. Totten, he said that I was slowly going mad.
Oh, no, that couldn't be.
I'm quite all right at present, but it's only a matter of time, and I'd rather not have to face it. I believe you can understand that.
But there must be something you can do, knowing in advance.
There is, and I want you to help me.
I don't understand.
Put on these gloves. Take them.
But why?
As soon as you have them on, I shall hand you this paper knife. Notice how very sharp it is. I grip it firmly, thus, and clearly impress my fingerprints on the handle. Finally, here on the desk, I am leaving this note, explaining that I have committed suicide.
Suicide?
When the knife is in your hand, I want you to drive it into my heart. Then you may leave by the same way we came in. You will be quite unnoticed, and with the $5,000 in your pocket.
You can't mean this.
But I do. You see, I don't have the nerve to... Well, I can't quite make the final move myself. You would greatly oblige me. And with the $5,000, you will be able to give your wife the treatment she needs. What do you say?
You can't die yet. You're not ready.
Would you have me wait until I've gone mad?
You can't take the matter of life and death into your own hands.
I am not asking you to pass judgment upon my actions. Whether I wish to live or die is my own concern, and my mind is resolved. Is that clear?
I'm sorry for you.
I'm merely asking you to do something for which I will pay you very well. You will, of course, be killing me. But if you could realize what life would be like for me otherwise,
I'm very sorry, but I can't oblige you.
If it's the law you fear...
No, it's not that. You seem to have arranged that perfectly.
Then what is it?
I'm an honest Christian, and I thought you were, Dr. Bronson. If you don't understand why I can't do this monstrous thing, I suggest you look up the 6th commandment. Good night.
So, Moshe, my second point was proved. Man refrains from killing because it is against his religious principles. The hands of the clock now read 15 minutes to midnight. 1/4 of an hour in which to complete this report. My third proposition called for an entirely different sort of man. In fact, the very reverse of Tartan. A man who believed neither in heaven nor hell, and also a man of little intelligence. It required careful search. For a number of nights, I frequented the rougher districts of the city. At first, I had no luck. Then one night, I came upon my man very unexpectedly. I was walking along one of the darker streets. There was no one in view. He was slumped down beside an ash can. He'd been shot in the chest and left arm, severing an artery. He was bleeding profusely. I tore off his shirt and made a tourniquet for his arm. Oddly, no one came into the alley to investigate.
Never mind me. Get away.
Was this a gang shooting?
What do you think?
I think you're going to the hospital.
No. They'll blab to the cops.
Come on, I'll help you to your feet.
I ain't going.
You'll die, man, if you're not treated quickly.
I ain't going, I tell you. No cops gonna... No cops. They ain't gonna...
His name was Matt Doyle. I visited Doyle in the hospital almost every day. Several months later, I decided to put him to the test. I found Doyle in one of his hangouts and brought him to my apartment.
Hey, this sure is a fancy roost you got yourself, Doc.
I find it very pleasant. Have a cigarette?
Thanks.
Doyle, how many men have you killed? That's all right, Doyle. I understand. Now, suppose we get down to business.
Yeah. I've been wondering what you want me for.
I want you to do something for me, and I'm going to give you $5,000 to do it. Will you do what I ask you?
For $5,000. Spill it.
I want you to put on these gloves so there won't be any fingerprints. Then I'm going to hand you this knife, and you're going to kill me with it.
Huh?
I've arranged everything so it will appear to be suicide.
You nuts?
Not yet, but I will be before very long. That's why I want to die. All you have to do is stab me and slip out with this $5,000.
Is this on the level?
Absolutely.
This wad of dough is mine if I kill you?
That's right.
And nobody will know I done it?
No one.
These gloves is kind of big for me.
That's all right. They'll do.
Yeah. Yeah, want me to put on the other one?
It's safer.
Yeah, I guess it is. Gee.
What is it?
I was just thinking. $5,000. Oh, the boss is going to pay me more next. I never got... I'll skip it.
I want you to understand exactly what you're doing, Doyle. Without any justifiable cause, merely for the sake of money, you are going to murder me. You understand that?
Yeah.
You've been hired to do this before?
Yeah. I suppose it don't hurt to talk about it now that you're
But
gonna...
you've never killed a friend, have you?
Yeah, I have. Anyway, they was my pals till they got in the boss's way, but when the bosses say slip it to a Matt, then they was just another job to me.
But there's a little difference in this case, Doyle. I saved your life.
Yeah. I don't know.
What?
I don't know. Nope, I can't do it.
But I thought you said that
Yeah,
you...
take these gloves.
Afraid of the law?
No.
What's the matter, then? Is it because I'm your friend?
That's more than that. I can't bump you off, even if you want it.
It would be an act of true friendship.
I ain't so sure.
When a cat has fits, you put it out of its misery, don't you? That's what I want. Oblivion. Peace.
Sorry, Doc, I ain't the guy. It's like you said. You saved my life, so that's that.
I'm sorry. I wish you could help me.
Oh, me too, but not that. Now, if you got some other punk you want took care of...
There's no one. Thanks just the same.
Oh, don't mention it.
There was my third proposition. Man will not kill fellow man if a sufficient degree of gratitude has been invoked. Even a professional killer and one of the lowest examples of human life, such as Doyle, could not bring himself to murder his benefactor. My next subject was altogether different in temperament. With Judith Ainsley, I used a special technique. I first encountered Judith Ainsley when I operated on Barrett Sheffield, the actor. You will recall that Sheffield was brought to the hospital with a lung abscess. As I prepared to do the rib resection, I noticed that the nurse standing beside me was greatly agitated.
Retractors, Doctor.
Thank you.
Doctor, do you think this is advisable?
What?
His dyspnea is more pronounced. Listen.
Miss Ainsley, another hemostat, please.
But he's getting blue. Doctor, do you think you really should? He's cyanotic.
Miss Ainsley.
I'm sorry, Doctor, but if... Doctor.
Quickly, caffeine. Quickly! Stethoscope.
Here it is.
That's that.
Yes, that's that.
Miss Ainsley, what's the matter with you? You've been acting strangely all through this operation.
You killed him. You killed him. You shouldn't have gone ahead. You know that. I warned you.
I shall see to it, Miss Ainsley, that you are never assigned to one of my cases again. What's the matter with you, anyway? Have you never seen a pulmonary before? Or does it upset you to see a handsome actor like Barrett Sheffield die?
Yes, it did.
Oh?
Yes. We were going to be married next week.
If I ever saw hate, cold, undying hate, it was in that girl's eyes as she turned and left the operating room that day. I had made the most implacable enemy of my life. As I come to my third check, dear Mosher, it suddenly occurred to me that Judith Ainsley was the perfect subject. One day at the hospital, I inquired about Miss Ainsley and learned that she had done 4 years of medical and was now interning at Cedars of Lebanon in hope of picking up a resident fellowship. I went down to the hospital and sat in the doctor's lounge waiting for her. Presently, she came in with another intern. I stood up. She turned and looked at me. I saw again in her eyes that inexorable hate. She had never forgiven me for what she felt was my negligence in the death of the man she loved. I walked toward her.
Excuse me, please.
I see you remember me, Miss Ainsley.
Yes, will you excuse me,
Miss
please?
Ainsley, you may not believe this, but I've come here especially to talk to you today.
To talk to me, Dr. Bronson?
Yes. Come along with me, please. In this treatment room, please. We can talk privately.
Dr. Bronson, I don't think there could be anything you and I can say to each other.
Well, now, Miss Ainsley, that all depends. That all depends. Sit down, won't you? Miss Ainsley...
Dr. Ainsley, if you please.
Oh, yes, of course. Doctor, I have a little proposition to make to you. First of all, there are 2 facts I'd like to be sure of. A, you are unable to set up your own practice because you don't have the money to get started. Is that right?
I don't see what business that is of yours, but it happens to be true.
Fine. Fact B, you still hate me and feel a strong desire to be revenged for the wrong which you consider I have done you.
Yes, I'm afraid that's true, Dr. Bronson.
Good.
Good?
Yes. You see, I want to pay someone to murder me, and I think you'd enjoy it more than anyone, and you need the money, too.
Dr. Bronson, I'm very busy. There's a patient in 302. Will you...
Wait a moment, Dr. Ainsley. I'm perfectly serious. Absolutely serious.
You want to die?
Yes. You see, I'm going mad. I can't face it. I wish to end my life immediately. You're smiling. Good, you're interested then.
You going mental, Doctor? Paresis?
Yes. Hopeless. I've been to 5 or 6 men about it.
Are you far gone? Hallucinations? Delusions of grandeur?
Yes, advanced stages. Agony.
Yes, it must be quite a temptation to get it over with. I wonder what I would do if it happened to me.
I want you to understand, Doctor, that I'm not asking you to perform a crude murder. This would look like a simple error, unavoidable. There would not be the slightest aspect of homicidal intent.
Really? That's most interesting, Doctor. Go on.
My heart. I've had considerable damage. Coronary occlusion. Had to spend some 6 weeks on my back. Just got up last week. Naturally, I was given digitalis.
Oh, I see, Doctor. You've been heavily digitalized, and if someone were to give you an injection of calcium gluconate, you would have an immediate heart block, dead within a few minutes.
Exactly. I must compliment you, Dr. Ainsley. You've learned a great deal. What a pity you can't have your own practice. And that, of course, reminds me.
Ah, another inducement?
Of course. I plan to pay you the sum of $5,000 for your professional services in this matter. And I think, unless times have changed greatly since I've been in practice myself, you ought to be able to set up handsomely with that.
My own practice. You'd better be careful, Doctor. You may tempt me a little bit too far.
I thought you'd find it an attractive proposition. It will be only an error. I will say that I'm feeling badly again, a recurrence of my pericardial pains. I'll go back to bed and ask that you be assigned to my case. The rest is simple. No one would ever expect you to know that I'd been digitalized.
Still, if I were on my toes, I would naturally go over your case history before giving medication of any kind.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true. Professional people might think you had been a little lax. Might not have the highest regard for a new doctor who launched her career with such an unprofessional incident. Just a slight stain on your reputation for just a short while.
You're very clever, Doctor. You knew that would do it, didn't you? I want to thank you. You've done me a great service.
You mean you'll do it?
You've reminded me that nothing, no money, revenge, nothing, can be worth the slightest suspicion in a doctor's career. I've worked too hard. I've waited too long for my practice. When I get it, it won't be soiled by any single act of carelessness. They'll never say that I lost any patient because of an error in judgment. You see, I once knew a doctor who did.
There, Moshe, is my fourth check. Man, or in this case, woman, refrains from killing because of the fear of loss of reputation. Now I come to the testing of my fifth subject. A man who would not murder because he couldn't bear the sight of blood, much less the responsibility for shedding it. Laderne was my man, and I found him shortly after my search began. On that day, I saw him turn a ghastly white as a fast-moving car almost ran over a small dog which had run into the street. It wasn't a particularly frightening sight, but Laderne clutched at his throat and fell in a dead faint. I, of course, made it my business to become acquainted with him. I hadn't seen him for more than 4 months, until tonight. He's changed, I noticed as he took his place at my desk. He's thinner. His dark eyes seem blacker than ever. Laderne, I want you to do me a favor. It's a little peculiar, but I'm perfectly sincere about it.
Well?
Circumstances require that my life be ended, but I can't quite reach the point to kill myself. I've arranged everything necessary to give the appearance of suicide. Here is the farewell note which I have written.
I see.
And here is the knife with which, apparently, I shall have killed myself. Notice I am carefully putting my fingerprints on it.
Yes.
Here are the gloves for you to wear. And here is $5,000 for you if you will drive this knife into my heart. What do you say?
You've arranged everything?
Everything.
No one knows I'm here?
No one?
And you want me to kill you?
Yes. Of course, it will be a bit messy. When a person is stabbed, his blood usually splurts out. But if you keep to one side, I don't think much will get on you.
Why do you want to die?
My doctor says that I'm going insane and that I haven't got much longer.
That's strange.
About going mad?
About him saying that you're going mad.
Oh, yes. It was a shock.
No, I don't mean that.
What do you mean?
That's the same thing they told me.
Oh, that's strange. They what?
They told me over a year ago that I was going mad. I only laughed at them.
Over a year? Have you noticed any change?
Not much, at least no change for the worse.
Oh, that's good.
In fact, I'm really much better. I've been having fewer and fewer of those sick spells. You remember how I was the day that dog was almost run over?
You've gotten over those sick spells?
Haven't had one in 3 months.
Then there isn't any check.
Check? What check?
Nothing.
Oh. Well,
This is going to be a pretty messy business. We might as well get it over with. Nice gloves you've got here. Nice and smooth on my hand.
Then you're going through with it?
Yes, can't let you down. Oh, never mind the knife. I've got my gun right here. Look, 38. Beauty, isn't it?
Yes. Then, if you'll give me back the knife...
No, I'll keep it for you. Yeah, I've used this gun a lot in the past 3 months. I've bumped off about 50 dogs.
You've done what?
Bronson, it's very interesting. I do it after midnight. It's fun watching the dogs. You have to know just where to hit them. And it kills them instantly.
But the noise in here... Aren't you afraid that somebody will...
A silencer, look. I don't like to wake people up when I kill their mutts.
But they'll find the bullet. They'll trace to your gun. They're sure to get you. In a suicide, the weapon stays right beside the body where it falls.
Suicide? Who says this is suicide? It's murder. I'm going to murder you. That's what you asked me to do.
Look here, Ledern, this has gone far enough. I was only joking. I don't want you to kill me.
5,000, eh? All here.
Listen to me, I was only joking.
You ready?
Ledern!
Shall I shoot now?
No, wait!
You want it through the heart or brain?
Not yet. Can't you wait? Just a little while.
Wait, what for?
Well, I've been conducting a little experiment. I'd like to write an account of it before I go.
Oh, what sort of an experiment?
I don't think you'd understand.
Oh, okay. I'll wait. Till midnight. Then I've got to go. There's a German police dog I've been wanting to get. A big, ugly brute. It'll be fun. Yes. I'll wait.
Thank you. The clock says 10 minutes past 11.
Yes. You've got 50 minutes. I'll wait by the window.
And so, Moshe, my experiment has ended. As you predicted, I have finally placed myself in a position beyond your power to aid. Strange, isn't it? But the one thing I didn't count on was the choosing of a subject who would not respond to my checks, who in fact had no checks at all, for insanity knows no restraint.
Bronson, midnight.
Oh, yes, Ledern, I'm hurrying. He is still at the window, and he is sure to shoot me. There is nothing I can do to say or stop him. I know that. I'm beginning to understand exactly what is going on in his twisted mind. I wonder why. Now I shall sign my name for the last time and lay down my pen. Then I shall look up and say, "All right, Ledern." All right, Ledern.
So closes the last letter of Dr. Bronson, tonight's tale of Suspense. In our Hollywood cast tonight, Laird Kriegar played Dr. Bronson. Walter Kingsford played Dr. Mosher. Ian Wolfe was Mr. Totten. Harold Huber played Doyle. Helen Vinson was Nurse Ainsley. And George Coloris played Ledern. This is your narrator, the Man in Black, who conveys to you Columbia's invitation to spend this half hour in suspense with us again next week, when Robert Young will star in an adaptation of a story by James Thurber called A Friend to Alexander. The producer of these broadcasts is William Spear, who with Robert Louis Cheon, guest director, Richard Paulette Craik, author, Lud Gluskin and Lucian Marowik, conductor and composer, collaborated on tonight's Suspense. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
How are you this morning, Mr. Bumby?
Hello, Marshal. Morning, Mr. Dillon.
Morning, Sam. Is, Kitty around?
Oh, don't know she's up yet, but if she is, she ought to be down soon.
I'll wait.
Nippy this morning.
Oh, feels good. It's a nice time of year, huh?
I don't know. I kind of like spring myself.
Sam, you better wash that glass over.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Can I get you something? Beer, maybe?
Got any coffee?
Sure. Just made a pot.
Oh, that'll be fine. Her face is something wondrous.
That's pretty, Ma. You got a pretty voice.
Oh, it's good enough for calling the hogs, I guess. Yeah. You just got up?
A while ago. Why?
Oh, it just strikes me I haven't seen you close, too, early like this.
Uh-huh.
No, you look fine. I mean that you...
You better quit while you're ahead.
Yeah, I guess it's...
Where's Sam?
Oh, he's bringing in coffee.
Oh, Sam, cup for me, please.
Sure, Miss Kitty.
What's the occasion, Matt?
Kitty? There's a party tomorrow night, a dance. It's a benefit for the new school down at the hall, you know? And, every fellow's to bring a girl. You know?
It happens at dances. Go on.
Well, what I'm trying to... Will you go? With me?
I'd kind of like to, Matt, but no thanks.
Oh.
Well, I gotta work here. You know that. Besides...
Well, you ought to be able to get off.
Well, even if I could, ladies might not take kindly to it, Matt. I'm not rightly polite society.
What do you care about what...
Well, thanks anyway, Matt. That smells wonderful. Sammy, I think I'll marry you.
Me? Shucks. Me? Oh, shucks.
Listen, Kitty, about the dance, I've already bought the
You're
tickets.
sweet, Matt, and I thank you kindly for thinking of me, but you better ask someone else.
Well, it isn't... Sam, will you go and polish up your glasses, please?
Oh, sure, Mr. Dillon. Sure.
Now, look, Kitty, I'm asking you to go with me. It's important to me that you go.
Are you making love to me, Matt? At this hour in the morning?
No, I mean it. I want you to go to the dance.
You want to be embarrassed. You want everyone to stare at us. You know what they'll say? My, the marshal really should have better sense than to bring that woman here. It ain't decent. It ain't proper.
Oh, Kitty.
Well, it's true. I'm a hostess at the Texas Trail.